Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the European Food Banks Federation, I would like to welcome everyone at our 2021 Annual Forum on Food Aid and Social Inclusion. And the title for this year is Fruit and Vegetables for Human Development, Let's Take Action. Just a few practical information before starting our annual forum. So this event has received a financial support from the European Union Programme for Employment and Social Innovation, EASI. Then, so just a few, some general information. The meeting is recorded and we are in streaming on FEBA website, eurofoodbank.org, our YouTube channel and Facebook page. All the presentations, the materials, and also the recording of the meeting will be available after the event on FEBA website. If you have any technical problem, you can write an email to FEBA at info@eurofoodbank.org, and we will be happy to assist you. And if you have any comments or if you would like to make a question to the speakers, so if you are watching the streaming on our YouTube channel or Facebook page, you can comment on YouTube or on Facebook. Otherwise, you can also write an email to info@eurofoodbank.org, and then we will read your comment or question to the speakers, and we will share your inputs. So just a few, a quick overview on the 2021 Annual Forum. So this annual forum wants to be it's our annual opportunity to promote the dialogue on important topics, such as the key role played by food aid and social inclusion. Over the years, we have addressed these topics from different perspectives and angles. The edition of 2019 was entitled Dialogue Between European Institutions and Concrete Practices Across Europe, and we focused on the implementation of the Fund for European Aid to the Most Deprived. While in 2020, so last year, the theme was European Food Banks Federation, Competencies and Creativity. And we focused on the impact of COVID-19, especially on the network of food banks belonging to FEBA. So the topic of food security is interrelated with the sustainability of the food system, and it plays a key role on the international and European agenda. The momentum has been substantially fostered by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which has put the food supply chain under enormous pressure and also severe disruptions. While the European food system did not succumb to the crisis-related pressure, it has become more and more evident the importance of an easily accessible, affordable, healthy, and balanced diet for all, especially or including the most vulnerable citizens. The UN General Assembly designated 2021 as the International Year of Fruit and Vegetables. And the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables is a unique opportunity to raise awareness on the important role of fruits and vegetables in human nutrition, food security and health, as well as in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In this framework, FEBA has organized and attended different events on this topic throughout the year. On the 7th of September 2021, FEBA, together with Italmercati, organized the conference Fruits and Vegetables for Human Development Do Not Waste during MacFruit 2021 in Rimini, Italy. And the last day of this fair, the surplus fruit and vegetables were recovered by the Italian Banco Alimentare. Then on the 21st of September 2021, as FEBA, we participated in the conference International Year of Fruit and Vegetables, organized by the Department for Sustainable Development of the Government of Romania. And finally, on the 5th of October, we organized the skill sharing session, Food Recovery from Fairs, with a specific focus on fruits and vegetables in Madrid, Spain. And the aim of this skill sharing session was to share the experience and expertise of the Italian Banco Alimentare and the Federación Española de Bancos de Alimentos. Moreover, with the claim Fruits and Vegetables for Human Development, Let's Recover and Transform, FEBA, together with Italmercati, was present in Madrid on the occasion of the International Fruit and Vegetable Fair, Fruit Attraction 2021. And the last day of the fair, we had the chance to learn by watching the activity of food recovery from the fair carried out by the Banco de Alimentos de Madrid. So today, with this annual forum on food aid and social inclusion 2021, and with the title Fruits and Vegetables for Human Development, Let's Take Action, we want to continue this journey. This conference is organized by FEBA together with Italmercati. And today we bring together distinguished speakers addressing the topic from different perspectives, and also sharing good and concrete practices regarding the recovery and redistribution of fruit and vegetables for the benefit of the most deprived. So we can have an overview of the program for today, for this morning. We will start with an institutional panel presenting the topic from the international level to the EU level, and also focusing not only from the legislative point of view, but also the nutritional value of fruit and vegetables. And then we will continue with a second panel focused on good practices, with the presentation of different actions that are already carried out by FEBA members in different countries. And in particular, we will have Greece, Norway, Spain, and Italy. And then we will conclude, we will end the conference with the closing remarks of our president. So we can start the first panel, and I would like to welcome the panelists. So together with us today, we have Rosa Rolle, who is Senior Enterprise Development Officer and Team Leader on Food Losses and Food Waste from the FAO. We have Anne-Laure Gasson, Team Leader of DG Health and Food Safety from the European Commission. Karen van de Putte, Senior Assistant and External Audit from DG Employment and Social Affairs and Inclusion from the European Commission. And Cecilia Bartolucci, who is the President of Fondazione Comitans. So we will start with this panel made of ladies. And I will give the floor immediately to Rosa Rolle, who will share with us, who will introduce the International Year of Fruit and Vegetables. And so she will set the scene and she will so foster the contribution of the following speakers. So thank you, Rosa, for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I wish to thank the European Federation of Food Banks for inviting this overview contribution on the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. And indeed, it's my pleasure to contribute on behalf of FAO. As we heard from Angela, the year 2021 was proclaimed the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables by the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, convened on 19th December 2019. And this year provides a unique opportunity to raise awareness on the important role of fruits and vegetables in human nutrition, food security, and health, as well as in achieving the sustainable development goals. The next slide, please. In terms of their contribution to human and nutrition and health, fruits and vegetables are rich sources of vitamins, minerals, and dietary fiber. They are low in fat and are rich sources of beneficial phytochemical compounds such as antioxidants. They also strengthen the immune system and are essential for combating malnutrition and can reduce the risk of many leading causes of illness and death. The World Health Organization and FAO recommend the consumption of at least 400 grams of fruits and vegetables per day by adults as a measure to prevent chronic diseases such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity, as well as to address micronutrient deficiencies. The next slide, please. But despite these significant nutrition and health benefits, the levels of fruit consumption and vegetable consumption globally fall short of this recommended daily intake, with very wide variation in the quantities consumed across and within countries. On average, the availability of fruit and vegetables across the globe in 2017 was actually slightly below the recommended intake at 390 grams per capita per day. And we're looking at the yellow arrow on the chart here. The Asian region in 2017 was the only geographic region across the globe that recorded the availability of adequate quantities of fruit and vegetables. We're looking at the red arrow here to meet the recommended level of consumption. But that does not necessarily match up to intake of the recommended quantities of fruits and vegetables across the board. The next slide, please. Low levels of fruit and vegetable consumption are linked to the lack of availability in many regions, as we have just seen, but also because of affordability, as they tend to be costly and are often consumed in very limited quantities by low-income consumers. Also, a lack of knowledge of the benefits to be derived from fruit and vegetable consumption limits their consumption very frequently. What we find is that as people become more aware and more educated, they would tend to increase their consumption of fruits and vegetables. Cultural preferences also dictate food choices of consumers, and very often we find that there's a preference for the consumption of staple foods over fruits and vegetables, resulting in, again, limited consumption. Fruit and vegetable consumption also faces competition from processed foods that are often backed up by very powerful advertising campaigns. And so there is a need for greater, again, promoting that whole issue of awareness. And then we have to contend with the food safety risks that associated with fruit and vegetable consumption, and also continue to be very key concerns, not only for consumers, but also for suppliers of fruit and vegetables. And these are issues that have to be tackled across the entire food supply system. And then lastly, across many countries, there's a lack of a policy focus that is designed to promote the local production and consumption of fruits and vegetables. Quite often, there's a lot of policies that address the staple commodities, but very few that address actually the efforts to promote increased consumption of fruits and vegetables. The next slide, please. Now, looking at the issues from a supply side perspective, we see that our current linear systems of producing, packaging, and delivering fruits and vegetables are not sustainable, and this poses a challenge for our planetary health. And on this chart, you see the top 4 issues that compromise the sustainability of the sector. These include the fact that their production makes use of very large quantities of water. And then given the high degree of perishability, they sustain very high levels of food loss and waste. And often that waste ends up in landfills and also contributes to greenhouse gas emissions that also result in climate change, contributing to climate change, sorry. And then we also generate in the process a number of persistent plastics used in the sector that contribute to environmental contamination and also there's also very often a high level of chemical use in fruit and vegetable production, and that could pose serious health risks to consumers. The next slide, please. And these sustainability issues compromise the contribution of fruit and vegetables toward generating planetary health benefits by unnecessarily making use of land and water inputs to produce fruits and vegetables that will never ever make it to the mouths of consumers to deliver their intended nutritional benefit. It will not generate economic returns for producers and stakeholders involved in their production, and will likely end up, as I've just highlighted, in landfills, and also in terms of the potential risk that could exist in terms of food safety with the high levels of chemical residues. They could also compromise human health. The next slide, please. So against this background, the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables provides an opportunity to catalyze efforts and actions to transform the fruit and vegetable sector through a holistic and comprehensive approach that looks at the connectivity between demand, supply, socioeconomic development, and consumption for better nutrition, while shifting to and ensuring more sustainable and circular practices. The next slide, please. Toward meeting these objectives, a global action plan for the International Year was elaborated and agreed to by the International Steering Committee of the International Year. And the plan includes 4 main lines of actions that bring in a focus on advocacy and awareness, raising, knowledge creation and dissemination, policy making, and capacity development and education. And the detailed action plan can be accessed on the website of the International Year. And you will see the link to the website at the bottom of your screen. It will be also shown in the next few slides if you're not able to get it. And we'll also put it in the chat. The International Year also complements several other key initiatives, including notably the Decade of Action on Nutrition that runs till 2025, and the Decade of Family Farming that runs till 2028. But most importantly, the International Year can also serve as a springboard toward achieving the SDGs. And in particular, next slide, please. There's the number, sorry, the next slide, please. Okay, here we see a mapping of some of the linkages to the SDGs. And this, while this may look a little bit complicated or congested, what I'd like you to take home from looking at this slide here is that some of it actually links to 3 key SDG targets. SDG 2, that brings in a focus on zero hunger. SDG 3, that is focused on good health and well-being. And SDG 12, and in particular SDG 12.3, that brings in a focus on reducing food loss and waste, which is so vitally important from a number of different perspectives, as we heard in the introductory remarks this morning. The next slide, please. Since the launch of the International Year in December 2020, there has been considerable global engagement to discuss and address the issues, through efforts of governments, private sector entities, civil society groups, academia, and research. And FAO has been, from the inception, playing a facilitating and coordinating role in working with an international steering committee that has defined the agenda of the International Year. And to support this work, FAO has also launched a digital campaign that helps to promote attention to the issues and also to share and disseminate information on all of the various events that are taking place across the globe. Next slide, please. I wish to invite you to browse the website where that digital campaign has been launched to learn of various events convened, as well as to make use of a number of technical resources, videos, and materials that have been produced to promote and awareness and to draw attention to the whole issue of um, fruit and vegetable production and consumption in a sustainable manner that helps to benefit nutrition and health. The I the next slide, please. The International Year will be concluded in February 2022, with a closing event. And of course, the work that has been started must go on. And so we look forward to continued collaboration and contributions from all stakeholders in keeping up the momentum that this year has generated toward maximizing the benefits of fruits and vegetables and their production and consumption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rosa, for your overview and for bringing the international perspective on this important topic. So moving from the international perspective to the EU level, I would like to give the floor to Anne-Laure Cassin from DG Health and Food Safety, who will present the work that has been done by DG Santé and the EU platform on food losses and food waste, on food waste prevention, and also the support to food donation. So thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Angela. Just checking that you can hear me well. It's fine? Okay, good. And thank you, firstly, to the European Food Banks Federation for this invitation and opportunity to contribute to this very important discussion today on the role of fruit and vegetables in human development. It's also a pleasure for me to follow on from FAO and Rosa Brole's intervention. You will see a lot of parallels in what I'll be presenting. We work very closely with FAO in many areas as regards sustainable food systems transition. But in particular today, I'm going to be focusing on our work to reduce food loss and waste, and of course with a focus on fruit and vegetables, a commodity which it is indeed extremely important to save from being wasted and to redistribute as a priority to people in need. The EU has implemented a dedicated action plan to reduce food loss and waste since 2016 under the Circular Economy Action Plan. And as of 2020, we have stepped up our efforts in order to accelerate our progress towards the Sustainable Development target goal that Rosa Rola mentioned, 12.3, to have food waste by 2030. Next slide, please. So as part of the Farm to Fork strategy, we are aiming to reduce food loss and waste as part of an integrated food systems approach. And that strategy seeks to establish a sustainable food system that has neutral or positive environmental impact for total food production, ensures food security and public health, and preserves the affordability of food. And you will see immediately that all of these areas indeed capture many of the issues which Rosa Rola raised in her presentation on as regards fruit and vegetables. Next slide, please. So turning now to food waste in the EU, the most recent data that we have estimates that we lose every year some 88 million tons of food, and over 50% of that food waste is generated at household level, 70% if we take total consumption, including out-of-home food consumption. And amongst the top categories of food that are wasted today in the EU, we also see the category of fruit and vegetables. Next slide, please. Here we have an analysis that has been done by the Joint Research Center, where they looked at the ratio of food waste to food supplied between different groups, and for every dot represents 1 million tons, and the red dot represents food waste. And you see that proportionately there are more dots for the fruit and vegetable category, and indeed this is mainly due to on the one hand, the varying amounts of inedible content here. We're quantifying total food waste, so including the inedible parts associated with food, of which there are, of course, in fruit and vegetables. But also another explanatory reason is the extent to which each category of food can be stored, and of course there are specific challenges to fruit and vegetables given their perishable nature, for instance. Next slide, please. So, as part of the Farm to Fork strategy, as I've mentioned, we're wanting to step up our efforts and accelerate our progress towards the Sustainable Development Goal in the EU. So, what are the main actions? Well, key flagship actions, the first two are future legislative proposals, and we will be proposing in 2023 to set binding EU level targets for food waste reduction. So these will be targets for the member states to achieve, to reduce food waste at each stage of the food supply chain. We will also be revising EU rules for date marking. So these are the date labels that you find on food products, the use by and the best before date. And the latter, in particular, the best before date, is often misunderstood, and this can lead to food waste. And here we are seeking to adopt a legislative proposal to revise the date marking rules next year. We will also further integrate food loss and waste prevention as part of all relevant EU policies. And I think you will see an illustration of that when I speak in the next slide on food donation. And you can see the articulation of the many different policy areas that need to converge and work efficiently and effectively in order to ensure safe food donation practices. We will investigate food losses at production stage, explore ways of preventing them, and that's essentially, excuse me, at the level of in the area of research and innovation. And there's a call right now, actually, which is open under Horizon Europe with a deadline of mid-February, which is specifically focused on the issue of food losses. So topic areas include the development and validation of new tools to measure and estimate food losses in primary production. Last but not least, we will scale up action and mobilize key players across the EU to take action, informed action, and that is, excuse me, spurred through the work of the EU platform on food losses and food waste. Next slide, please. So the EU waste legislation was revised in 2018, integrating new measures also related to food waste prevention. And the waste legislation lays down a food use hierarchy in the sense that it calls on member states to encourage food donation and other redistribution for human consumption, prioritizing the human use of any surplus food in the food supply chain over animal feed, as well as reprocessing into non-food products. And the legislation also calls on member states to provide incentives for the application of this waste hierarchy, citing as an example the facilitation of food donation. And many member states do indeed today implement fiscal policies and rules in order to incentivize food business operators to provide food surplus and make that available in a safe manner to food banks and other charity organizations. Next slide, please. I've mentioned we've taken a range of actions in the area of food donation. So in 2017, we adopted guidelines on food donation, which clarify how relevant legislation at EU level, whether that is food safety, food hygiene, food labeling, applies to food donation. And that has been also useful guidance in helping to further guide action at national level and by stakeholders. We ran for 3 years an EU pilot project on food redistribution, which also sought to further disseminate these guidance and to map more specifically the policy and the regulatory frameworks existing at national level. Now, I've mentioned also the need to integrate food waste prevention in other policy areas. And just to illustrate with some work that has been done in the recent years on food hygiene, with guidance that has been adopted following advice from the European Food Safety Authority and specific amendments introduced into food hygiene legislation this year, I'll mention the last one as an illustration. As regards food hygiene for food of animal origin, an amendment was introduced which allows freezing of meat at retail for the purpose of food donation and under specific conditions, because indeed we need to ensure food safety. There are provisions also to ensure that a meat which has already been frozen is not refrozen. Sounds very basic, but it's quite important to ensure these important food safety measures and also potential food fraud measures to ensure that consumers at the end of the day are getting high quality and safe foods when that food is made available for food donation in the same manner as when that food is made available in a supermarket. Next slide, please. So, looking now at agricultural policy, we have our colleagues in the Director General for Agriculture also have measures in place in the context of the Common Market Organization for Fruit and Vegetable to promote fruit and vegetable consumption, ensuring its redistribution when surplus arises in the food supply chain, and also educational measures. So, under the crisis prevention and management measures, for instance, the withdrawal schemes prioritize free redistribution of fruit and vegetable to food banks, charity organizations, schools, hospitals over other destinations, so feed or other non food uses. Providing a higher level of financing, so 100% EU financing to producer organizations who have recourse to these measures. The EU school scheme also supports distribution of fruit and vegetables. In the school year 2019-2020, some 19 million children participated or benefited from this scheme. Next slide, please. Just moving quickly now, I just want to highlight the role of the platform on food losses and food waste that adopted recommendations for action at each stage of the food supply chain, including food donation. Through that platform, we try to promote evidence-based sharing of best practices, and we also support directly actors in taking action. Early next year, we will be launching grants for member states and for stakeholders in the food value chain to help them both improve measurement and monitoring of food waste and also implementing effective food waste prevention programs. Next slide, please. And the last slide, I wanted to mention a new digital hub that we have launched on the 29th of September, which is the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste, and a day that was announced by the UN organizations. Any stakeholder, therefore, active in the area of food loss and waste prevention can provide resources and news on this digital hub. You have the address there. And you'll find also on this hub a policy area where there are dedicated pages for each member state that outline the measures that member states are taking in order to prevent food loss and waste. And if you subscribe to this hub, you also will receive a monthly newsletter. We have over 1,800 subscribers to date. So with that, I just want to thank you for your attention, and that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anne-Laure, for your intervention. So you said that the EU waste legislation promotes the food use hierarchy and calls on member states to encourage food donation. So we know that in the European Social Fund Plus, member states will have the possibility to support food donation, the expenses, covering the expenses of food donation that are carried out by food banks or other charities. So in the next intervention with Karen van de Putte from DG Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, we will discover more on the European Social Fund Plus and what could be the link between the ESF Plus and food donation. So thank you for being with us, and I leave you the floor.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. So, as said by Anne-Laure Gassin, avoiding food waste and the issue of food donations is a very important topic for the Commission. and to help member states and managing authorities to define unit costs, and in order to simplify the financing of this type of operations within the European Social Fund Plus, DG Employment commissioned a study, a feasibility check on developing off-the-shelf tools in the area of food donations. So this was part of a wider study on simplified cost options and financing not linked to cost in the area also of social inclusion and youth. Now, next slide, please. We developed the feasibility check with the assistance, the active assistance of FEBA and its national members. So there were two phases during the study. During the first phase, we concluded that it was possible to calculate a unit cost of a kilogram of donated food delivered, and this was the most promising option. So in the second phase, we tried to deepen this analysis and assess the actual availability and sufficiency of the data that was available, so to establish the unit cost in pre-selected members. So there were three parts in this process. First, there was a collection of historical administrative data, and we performed initial calculations, and in the end, then we assessed on the whole if the data was sufficient and what were the limitations and what were the prospects for further development of such EU-level solutions. Now, on the next slide, please, we can see in the area of data collection. So this was performed mainly in 5 member states, France, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, and Lithuania. These were identified as the most promising member states that did have the data available within the scope of our study, and it also provides a well-balanced set of countries with different structures of national food banks. So you have, like Hungary, Ireland, and Lithuania, we know there is a single food bank that operates in each country and cooperates with other frontline and backline organizations, while France and Italy work with many food banks that are connected through a centralized network. So the study team cooperated strongly with the European Food Banks Federation, and they helped our team to liaise with national food banks and facilitated also the initial communications, for which we are very grateful, of course. So we did a tailored data collection where we asked food banks and other organizations to give us a total amount of donated food within a given period and the total cost of delivering that donated food to whoever needed it. So then, according to the information collected, we can see that organizations involved in recovery and redistribution of donated food incur direct costs covering transportation, storage, staff costs, other costs such as to cover facilities and equipment, also costs concerning awareness raising activities and additional costs, mainly during the last year and a half concerning COVID-19 related expenditure. So to ensure that the findings of these checks concern exclusively surplus food, we have asked data providers to exclude data on amount and cost of food donated by private donors during the food collection events, and also to exclude data on purchased food through the FEAT program. Now, something on the initial calculations. Next slide, please. So, to be very brief and not going into the details of complicated mathematical formula, basically what we have used as a calculation is the ratio between the total cost of delivering the donated food in euro and the total amount of donated food delivered. So we come to a unit cost of 1 kilo of donated food delivered. And for the 6, we have a unit cost that was established for 6 member states. And now the study team performed calculations and compared results of these calculations among the different member states. And we see actually overall the size of the sample was too small to make a final conclusion on whether this method is sufficiently reliable to establish unit cost values for all other countries. So in other words, we haven't been able to extrapolate these values to all member states, which was initially the intention. However, we believe that based on the data we have, these values are a good approach. Now, on the next slide, please. So as I said, the data we had was insufficient to extrapolate it to all member states, but the good news is that judging from the sample, national food banks can provide historical data that is needed for the development of a unit cost. The data's availability and quality, however, may vary from country to country. The availability of a proven data collection grid, FEBA's familiarity with the process and insights of the analysis presented in this report should facilitate the further development of a unit cost based on historical data. So we strongly advise member states and managing authorities of ESF Plus programs to use the method that was developed in our study. And on the next slide, you can find the link to the full report of this study. So to use this method and develop a specific unit cost as the value for their specific member state. Now, we hope this will greatly facilitate member states in using this type of operations in their ESF program and greatly facilitate also the administrative burden of food donation operations. Now, in the meantime, recently, we already received a first formal proposal from one member state, Lithuania, to use this unit cost in their ESF Plus operational program. So I'm happy to conclude that it was not just another study, but it did serve its purpose. So anybody who wants to become familiar with the methodology we provide, please do consult our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you also for this update from Lithuania. So I think that it's really a good news that a member state is willing to use this opportunity in the ESF Plus, and I really hope that other member states will follow the example. And I would like also to thank you for explaining in a very simple but effective way a very complex topic like this. And also thank you for involving FEBA and our members in the study. So now we will move to Cecilia Bartolucci, who is a nutritional researcher and president of Fondazione Comitons, who will explain us the nutritional value, the importance of the nutritional value of fruit and vegetables, especially for children. So I give you the floor, and I thank you in advance for being with us.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here. Today I'm representing the Comitons Foundation, which is a very young foundation, and its first goal is to address the challenge of bringing healthy and sustainable nutrition to mothers and children during their first 1,000 days of life. In particular, we want to focus on mothers and children living in vulnerable conditions. Next. The first 1,000 days defines the time from conception to 2 years of age, and it represents an incredible window of opportunity because it is the time we can maximize the impact generated by conscious actions. In fact, this time is critical for growth and development since it is a period of very rapid physiological changes and incredible plasticity. Interventions during the first 1,000 days could have the greatest positive impact on outcomes, but it could also, in case, for example, of nutritional deficiencies, exert their most devastating effects. During these times occur also epigenetic modifications. Those are modifications which occur on top of the DNA without changing the inherited DNA, the sequence of the inherited DNA that we got from our parents. Finding out about these epigenetic modifications, which are caused by environmental impacts and actually starts hours after conception, was a major paradigm shift because it turned out that the DNA is vulnerable. We can therefore switch some genes off and on and influence the outcomes regarding our health according to our behavior and some of the environmental effects that we are exposed to. During that time, researchers demonstrated during the past 10, 15 years that this is also the time, the first 1,000 days, when our gut microbiome is formed. The gut microbiome is the totality of the microorganisms present in our gut, and we're talking about trillions of microorganisms, including their genetic materials and their metabolites. And they play an important role in the maintenance of health, as well as in the pathogenesis of disease. Hence, both the microbiome and the epigenetic modifications play a fundamental role in, for example, the development of non-communicable diseases such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and even autism. One of the major factors, environmental factors, that influence epigenome and microbiome is nutrition. And hence, we understand now the incredible role that nutrition has during the first 1,000 days of life. Next. We need hence to provide infants and mothers with a healthy nutrition. That means also that we have to produce the right amount of food. And even though we should be aware, and this has been mentioned before too, that there are differences between the nutritional needs due to geographical, cultural, religious, and other situations, a kind of a generalized guideline for healthy diet shows that the average percentage of the different kinds of foods that we need. And we can see that we currently are overproducing, for example, red meat and also grains, while we definitely need to increase production of fruits and vegetables. We also need to keep in mind that quantity is not as important as nutritional quality. We often provide or we eat what we call empty calories. So it is paramount that we concentrate on the production of quality food, of nutritional quality food. Next, this is an important message which we need to combine with the knowledge we have on microbiome. A diverse microbiome is a healthy microbiome. We don't know yet exactly what that means, which microorganism we need to have, but definitely diversity is important. And in order to have a diverse microbiome, we need to eat and provide a diverse diet. And therefore, we need to support a diversified production. We can see it almost as a street of diversity. It starts from the soil. A healthy soil is a soil that has an incredible biodiversity, which helps to produce and provide for let's say a production of a diversified plants, diversified diet, diversified nutrition, diversified food. That also helps us to have a diverse diet, a diverse microbiome, and all this supports health. So really we can see it as a street of diversity started from the soil to health. Next. The food system, however, is very complex. We heard about it many, many times, and we all talk about an integrated approach, which is necessary as soon as we tackle some of the challenges which are connected to the food systems. All actions which take place in one place will influence the outcomes upstream or downstream of that place of intervention. If we want to tackle challenges, for example, such as food accessibility and food waste, which are necessary beyond food production, and we heard about it already sometimes, it has been mentioned, we really need to see the system as a whole. I will give you just two quick examples. One is, for example, the insurgence of food deserts. Food deserts are those areas in cities where it is difficult to buy affordable or even quality fresh food, and their number is growing rapidly. We just talked about the necessity of introducing fresh produces into our diets. We heard about it already from other speakers. But if we produce more fruits and vegetables, or we are not able to distribute it everywhere, we're going to leave some people behind. Usually this is in social low-income areas, but this is something that we need to think about. The other example that I'm bringing is food packages. The food bank did and is still doing an amazing job in bringing healthy food to vulnerable families. And they're doing so mainly using surplus food and hence avoiding waste. This is fundamental to sustainability. Unfortunately, surplus food doesn't always answer the nutritional needs, in particular, the nutritional needs of mothers and children. And now we know how important that is, how important that nutrition is during that time. Many volunteers that we talked to showed great interest in learning how to provide a healthy nutritional package for those families. Often, however, they lack the proper products. Current innovation helps to allow for longer shelf life and fresh produces. These technologies should be developed and should be made available to more institutions. Next, please. I do believe, however, that a radical change is needed in the food system. And I'm leaving you now with what I see as a provocative question. Next. We talk all the time about the concept of from farm to fork, and this is essential. But why don't we consider also a different approach next, which talks from fork to farm too? From farm to fork represents a linear approach that considers important environmental aspects, but being linear, it is, I think, not suitable to represent the complexity of the whole food system as we just described it. If we consider the opposite directions too, so if we, instead of only taking into account the environmental need, we would use as drivers for production and distribution also the real nutritional needs of the people, we would have a circular system. I'm not referring to consumer requests, but real nutritional needs, for example, of mothers, children, people living in food deserts, and so on. So if we could create this system and create more a connection and matching the needs to the production, we would maybe be able to also not come up with this surplus that we have, but really only produce the amount that we can distribute. And I think we talked also about redistribution. This is fundamental, but it's also the production that is necessary. The integrated system would support much more the challenge of providing a healthy and sustainable nutrition to children, for example, in order to write today the health of the adults of tomorrow. I think this is something that we need to keep in mind. We have the chance and we have the possibility of having healthier adults, of having generations that we can support today. Let's keep in mind this window of opportunity during the first 1,000 days, and let's see if we can work together on changing something, moving something, and as I say, create a system that considers from farm to fork, but also from fork to farm. I hope this gives you some food for thought, and I thank you very much for the opportunity of sharing the experience of the Comitans Foundation.
So thank you very much, Cecilia, for your provocative question and for this food for thought. This is really the aim of our annual forum. So we really want to have a dialogue, and we are happy that the discussion and the conversation is so fruitful and rich. So we are really looking forward to continuing the discussion with you. I would like to thank you very much for participating in our event today. And before moving to the next panel, we would like to show 2 videos because so the title, as you know, of this annual forum is Fruit and Vegetables for Human Development, Let's Take Action. So now in the second panel, we will see also some actions, concrete actions, trying to address the nutritional needs of vulnerable people. So we will start with these 2 short videos. The first one is about the recovery of fruit and vegetables at the end of Fruit 2021 in Rimini, in Italy. So some volunteers of the Italian Banco Alimentare recovered the fruit and vegetables at the end of the fair, so that nothing was wasted at the end of this big event in Rimini. And then the second video will show the volunteers of Banco de Alimentos de Madrid. So we move from Italy to Spain, to Madrid, and we will see the volunteers of the food bank recovering the fruits and the vegetables at the end of Fruit Accretion 2021 that took place at FEBA at the beginning of October. So let's watch these videos together, and then we will continue the discussion and the dialogue with the second panel. So now we will start the second panel, and I'm very happy to welcome Dimitris Nentas, who is the Managing Director of Food Bank Greece. Then we have Paula Capodristrias, who is Project Manager from Madcentrale Norte. Pedro Castaños Ruiz, who is the International Relationship Manager from the Federación Española de Bancos de Alimentos, together with other colleagues from FESBAL. And we also have Domenico Messina, who is the Director of Associazione Banco Alimentare della Sicilia Onlus, so the food bank in Sicily, in Catania. So in this second panel, as I said before, we will have the possibility to listen to concrete good practices in different countries. So what the food banks are already doing in order to address the nutritional needs of the most deprived, especially providing food not only in quantity but also in quality, and providing fruits and vegetables. So we will start with Dimitris. So thank you for participating in this annual forum. And I leave the floor so that you can share with us the good practices that you are doing in Greece. Thank you, Dimitris.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning, everyone. Here from Athens, if we see the first slide of the presentation, I would like to show you a concrete action about saving fresh fruit and vegetables from the central grocery market in Athens. As said, it's a recovery action. That means that we save food every week. Twice a week, we visit the market in the center of the Athens with our trucks. It's still in pilot phase, which means that we visit 2 specific producers there. We have spoken to them about food waste and how to save more food. And so we pick up whatever they have to donate. It's very strange for us because we are a small food bank, and it's also a test for our logistics, which means that perhaps a day we may go there and pick up 6 pallets of products, and another day we go just for 100 of kilos, and we need to adjust to whatever they have as surplus to donate to our food bank. It's also quite difficult for the market because the producers there, they don't really know what is food waste and how to prevent food waste and what are the consequences of food waste to the environment, the society, and the financial ones. So it's also a process about raising awareness to the professionals there, to the administration of the central grocery market in Athens. And we are very happy because being to a pilot phase means that we have already a success, which is that we have persuaded the administration of the market to speak about food waste inside the market to the producers. We have already persuaded at least 2 or 3 of them to donate food, and we have already a successful pilot procedure about saving food. Just to say a number, the last 3 months we have saved about 8,200 kilos of food, which is very important for us. And we think that on January we could move to the other phase of this action and establish cooperation with more producers and other companies there in the grocery market. And so every week, twice or 3 times a week, to go there and pick up more and more food in a systematic way. So if we can go to slide 2 at the moment. As said before, it's very important for us here in Greece to persuade the producers and donate food, but it's also very important and it's a challenge for us to establish sustainable logistic systems to pick up food, to sort out this kind of food, and to donate to charities and prepare meals as well. So here is another project about saving potatoes. The last 4 years we have a cooperation with Westland SA company, and we have saved about 500 tons of potatoes. And I would like to share this video with you for about 60 seconds just to see the logistics. And we also use the video inside the country to prove to the producers that we are capable to save more food. And it's very important for us to persuade them and donate to us food. So please, let's go to the video. This and as said before, here in Greece, the most important step is to persuade people and speak about food waste. So my third slide and the last but not least is a general raising awareness campaign that we released about fresh fruit and vegetables through our digital media channels. So I share with you some digital banners that we created with a professional partner of our food bank. And it's a mind game about the word trophy, which means food in Greek. And we combine the word trophy, food, with catastrophe, distraction, disaster, with diet, which means diatrophy, with strophy, which means turn. And so playing with the words with that includes the words food inside them. It's we spread the message that nutritious food should not be wasted. And so that's the last action that I would like to share with you this day. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dimitris, for sharing these examples from the Food Bank Greece. I think that it was evident that when you are recovering fruit and vegetables, it's not only a matter of logistics and infrastructure, but also it's a matter of raising awareness, so trying to convince the donors to donate fruit and vegetables, but also the public, the larger public. And I think that it's really this last campaign that you shared with us, so playing with words, it's really a good example. And it shows, I think, one of the characteristics of the food banks, which is creativity. So, well, thank you very much for sharing with us this example. And now from Greece, we will move to Norway with Paula from Matsentralen Norge, and she will present us a new project. So regarding the Matsentralen primary production. So we are really curious about this project. So thank you for sharing this example, this experience with us. And the floor is yours, Paula.
Thank you very much, Angela, and thank you, FEBA, for organizing such a relevant forum today with so many inspiring speakers and examples. I am here representing the network of Norwegian food banks. We can go to the first slide. On the image, you actually see 7 locations. That is because these are the values from last year, but I'm very happy to announce that we opened our 8th food bank last summer. But the reason I have the figures from last year is because these give a little bit of the background to the project that I would like to tell you about today. When we looked at the results from last year, we noticed that a little bit over 23% of all the food that we redistributed was fruits and vegetables. And today we have been able to hear about the importance of fruits and vegetables from a nutritional point of view. We know that we should aim to have at least half of the plate with fruits and vegetables. So we decided to do something about this. And especially with the occasion of the International Year on Fruits and Vegetables. We can go to the next slide, please. So the first thing we did was to ask ourselves why we were not redistributing more fruits and vegetables. We do collaborate with the bigger distributors of fruits and vegetables in Norway, but we didn't have so much collaboration with the primary sector, that is farmers and packing houses. So that's where we found our first challenge, which was lack of data. Only recently, and when I say recently, it's very recently, it's just last week, Norway published the first figures on extent of food losses and waste in the primary sector. So we were a bit lost a year ago in terms of this. So what we did is to reach out to BAMA. BAMA is the largest distributor of fruits and vegetables in Norway. It also owns several packing houses, and it has been a very important partner for the network of Norwegian food banks since the very beginning of the opening of the first food bank in 2013. BAMA is also very committed to reducing food waste and has very good routines for the management of surplus food. So everything that doesn't go to the food banks, it goes to animal feed. But what we did is to start exploring possibilities to save some of this food currently going to animal feed in order to be able to use it as human food instead. And that's where we met the second challenge that was related to logistics. We decided to focus on potatoes, onions, and carrots. These come, as you can see in the picture, in big pallet boxes. They also come unsorted. We know that fruits and vegetables are a biological product, so they are very dependent on weather conditions and season. So there were a lot of different challenges. We realized we needed to find a way to distribute this to families and individuals. So we needed to repack this. We needed to look into the food safety of how to do this. So soon we understood that we needed to do this in a professional and safe way. That means having the right facilities, having the food safety routines in place, having the right labeling and packaging and so on. And this is where the foundation Sparebankstiftelsen came in. They had a call for projects focused in sustainable consumption. And we were very lucky to get funding to start our project to rescue more fruits and vegetables. So we can go to the last slide. The funding will allow us to establish 4 packing lines in 4 different food banks in Norway. These packing lines basically assist with the process of sorting out and packing the fruits and vegetables in a more efficient manner. In this launch just a few weeks ago, and we have already redistributed, sorted out, packed, and redistributed 12,000 kilos of fruits and vegetables. We do have a system of internal transport, so this means that the vegetables that were packed in Larvik, which is the first food bank with a packing line, they were redistributed among charities, charity organizations in the region of Larvik, but also in the region of Oslo and Rogaland. So 3 of the most important food banks in the southern area. So we're very thankful with this project, especially because it's of the very good collaborations that we have had so far. And we are looking forward to launching at least one more packing line in 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula, for this concrete example and concrete presentation. I think that it was evident from your intervention that you started from a concrete need. So you wanted to increase the quantities of fruit and vegetables. And thanks to this project and also partnering with different stakeholders, so in order to receive more fruit and vegetables, but also to support the cost of this project, you will be able to achieve this goal. So thank you very much, and I think that it's a nice example that can be shared and replicated in other countries. And now I would like to move to Spain, where we have Pedro Castaños Ruiz from the Federación Española de Bancos de Alimentos. So we know that FESBA and the food banks in Spain are recovering and redistributing fruits and vegetables from different sources of supply. So you are working and collaborating with the wholesale markets, but you are also receiving fruit and vegetables thanks to the withdrawal scheme. So all these fruits and vegetables that are withdrawn from the market in the context of in the framework of the common agricultural policy, and you also have other channels. So it will be really a pleasure to listen more and to learn more as regards what the Spanish food banks are doing. So thank you very much for joining this annual forum. And Pedro, I leave you the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. Well, just to understand a little bit what do we do with fruit and vegetables. First of all, you've got to think that we are 54. We are a federation of 54 banks, which cover all of Spain, which is a big country. So there's a lot of differences between some banks and other ones. But globally, and please go to the first slide. Well, this one. Well, globally in 2020, we distributed 158 million kilos of food, and the different origins are, as you see there, it's 29% comes from the FEAD program. Then you've got 16%, which comes from returns from the market by the state. Then we do a lot of job in collects, so it's 14%. And then the rest, 22%, comes from the industry or from the distribution. So as you can imagine, some of this food can't be fruit and vegetables because, for example, the FEAD program, it's used for food which is not perishable. So only a part of it could be used as fruits and vegetables. So go to the next slide, please. Yes, here you can see in the last 3 years which kind of fruits and vegetables have we managed and which are the origins of it. So you can see that globally around 40 million of well, it changes year to year, but it was 39 million in 2018. It's been 45 million in 2019 and 44 million kilograms in 2020. So that means that around from 26% to 31%, around 30% of the food we distribute is fruits and vegetables. as you can see, there are three different. We divide it in three different types. We consider which is fruits, which is vegetables, and drinks, which says bebidas. Drinks, that is juices that were made when we couldn't, we weren't able to keep all the fruits that we have. So we got some arrangements with the industry. So we made it juices, and we kept the juices and we distributed them. So as you can see, roughly 55%, 60% of the fruits comes from the state, from the retirements from the market. When there are excedents of a certain product, the state may buy it to keep the prices for the agriculture, and then we get some of that food. But we also keep it from the industry or from the distribution channels, or even in the collects we make. There are some people, although we try to prioritize the non-perishable food, but some people give us fruits and vegetables. Then part of these foods comes from our agreements with the central markets. Everywhere or every province where there is a central market in Spain, we've got there on a space, and we retire food that for whatever reason can't be sold or could be, but that could be used because it is good food. So that's an important part, and it's a very good contribution to avoid food waste. And so basically, we could resume, it's about 27% of our food distributed are fruit and vegetables, and around 60% of that food comes from the state, and the rest from everywhere we could get this food. So we try to give as much of fruit or vegetables, because, as it was said before, we think it's very important for the nutritional facts for people. And that's it.
So thank you very much, Pedro, and also to your colleagues from FESVAL for this presentation. And I think that it was also interesting to learn more about the transformation that you are doing of fruit and vegetables, so that it's not only a matter of packaging, but also transforming these products, which, as we know, are perishable and with a short shelf life. And in this way, thanks to transformation, you can extend the shelf life, and you can have more time to redistribute, and also then the charities have more time to use these products. So before giving the floor to Domenico, I would like also to welcome Flavio Pezzoli, who should be with us. Yes, okay. Thank you for joining us, and for your availability today. So he's the operation manager of CAR in Rome, and he will make an intervention on behalf of Italmercati. So before giving the floor to you, Flavio, I will ask Domenico from the food bank in Sicily, in Catania, to present and to share with us the activities that you are doing, dealing with the recovery and redistribution of fruits and vegetables in Italy, and then especially in your region. So thank you very much for sharing this example and your experience with us. And I give you the floor, Domenico.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for to give us the opportunity to share with you and with our participant our little experience. The first slide, please. Yes. So at the end of the October 19, just a few weeks before the European Week for Waste Reduction, we were invited to take place in agreement called Cuore Generoso. It means giving heart. And the agreement aim was to recover fruit and vegetables from the Sicily wholesale market, that is called MAAS, and distribute it to people in need. The developers of the agreement were, of course, the Sicily wholesale market, with the task to involving its sellers to donate their surplus or unsold food, and managing or organizing the charities inside the market. The other developer was the local service center for volunteer, which with the objective to find charities and organizations to take part in the project. The local health authority with a specific task to organize training section for volunteers, and region, province, and municipality were involved in waste tax reduction and support to the replication of the project in other areas. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. The agreement was signed on November 19, and Banco Alimentare della Sicilia was one of the 8 organizations involved. The project started on February 20, and we went to the market twice a week, spending 3 hours each day. And this was for us, especially at that time, a big effort, because the helping requests were significantly increased from charities, and we had fewer volunteers than, let's say, standard time. Anyway, we decided to invest in this activity because we can recover good quality and good quantity of fresh food. There was a good opportunity to train new volunteers on the good hygiene practice, and the agreement also involved different type of no-profit organization, not only charities that distribute food, but also, for example, organizations that offer volunteers, or the other cultural organization that disseminate no-waste culture, and etc. Nevertheless, there were 2 aspects that made the process a bit complicated. Former concerned the coordination of the charities made by the market manager. More than 1 charity per day, some day few quantity of food, and etc. And latter, related to the first, of course, was relative to relationship between the donors and the charities. Most of the time, the donors were not able to identify the different organization, leading problem on the accountability of the entire project. So after 2 months, restarting the project, the developers asked to us to manage the entire process of recovering food every day and distributing it to the other charities. But for Banco Alimentare at that time was unsustainable. So the only way to solve that problem could be to move our main warehouse inside the market. And in the accordance with the network, that's what we did. We complete our transfer in September 20. Next, please. How our activity changed. As you can see on the map on the left side of the slide, we are very, very close to the market. So we can run Monday to Friday activities, spend less time than before, and also distribute food for more charity. Potentially, all our charity network is involved in this project. What are the key factors? For food bank point of view, we move in a warehouse with a better geographical position near the naval port, the airport, the commercial train hub, and the highway. We get more space, plus 450 square meters, and we take advantage from the common services offered by the market. For the entire system, let's say for the network, better sustainability, because less time in order to recover all the food, and less CO2 for the environment. The food bank is also the only interface between the donors and the charities. So we solved the problem, the previous administrative problem. And also we recover higher quantity, because sometimes happens that there are some unforeseen donation, not only in the morning, because we run our cycle around the market in the morning, but sometimes happens in the afternoon. So the donors can give us this type of product. And last but not least, implementing synergy with other projects. One example is Ripescato project, in which the confiscated fish is stored inside the cold rooms of the market, and after the health control needed could be recovered by the food bank. I mean, just a very quickly summary of this project. From the beginning of the project, we recovered 145 tons on fruit and vegetables, and we still go on in this direction. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Domenico, for sharing this example. And I think that it was interesting to see how this collaboration with the wholesale market has changed your daily activity, has, I would say, improved your daily activity. And so since you were already mentioning the collaboration with the wholesale market, I think that it's now the time to go to leave the floor to Flavio Pezzoli, who, as I said before, is the operation manager of CAR in Rome. So that's we listened to the experience, and we had the perspective of the food banks, and now we can also listen from your experience what's the CAR in Rome is doing in terms of preventing food waste and also donating fruits and vegetables for people in need.
Good morning to everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Good morning to everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. Can I start? Thank you. Thank you. Well, good products are really the element that in Italy, the Gatta law, this is the name of our law from 2016, managed to make us grasp, pointing the way to a real benefit for all communities. Solving that apparent oxymoron, less waste, more food for all, has been a great challenge, which we as Italmercati, Italian wholesale market network, have addressed in this entirety already since 2017 with the project of recovery and processing our surplus food, fruit that fruit does not waste. Let's act. For us, it meant achieving the goals of recover as much surplus as possible in an innovative way. I'm sorry, but I hear my voice is normal. Can I speak? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can speak now. We are checking with the IT staff if we can solve the issue with the echo.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
You can speak now. We are checking with
extend the shelf life of surplus products and thus increase the possibility of us. This is very important. Extend the shelf life of the product. Enhance the recovery for social purposes of both fresh and processed products. Experiment with a new transformation model that uses a surplus of raw materials and innovative to third sector, increasing the skills of the third sector. On the other hand, the Fruit No Waste project is in line with the FAO SDG 2 objectives, as the waste created not only to reduce waste, but also to help the poor and ensure of healthy and correct diet. This is important for us, healthy and correct diet. In fact, fruit and vegetables are often lacking in the diet of the people in need, but not only for the people in need. In short, we ensured that the available surplus product were monitored through the digitated system selected and partly destined for fresh to not-profit organization and partly processed and at the market through the newly designed laboratory. Our laboratory is managed by a local non-profit organization whose staff is trained by project partners. Each one for the topics of their own competence, HACCP and good processing practices, safety at work, use of machinery, administrative practices, logistics, and etc. etc. I'm sorry, I try to switch off my because it's very.
Yes, Flavio, if you may check, because maybe you have the YouTube channel or our website open, and so that's why you are.
I switch off the. Just a moment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now it's perfect for me.
Okay, perfect.
Well, the finished product is made available to local non-profit organizations that are interested in using it and or place it on traditional social market. The next step is to make the recovery activity fully operational and could definitely enter to commercial market there thanks to a measure of an Italian government which would allow the sale of a transformed product, although from recovered materials as fair trade. We want to increase the level of production. It is very important because we wanted to increase the level of production by subtracting from the waste circuit and in increasingly important amount of recovered and processed material. Well, if you think that fruit as a shelf life of 1 day and transform it as a shelf life of 10 or 11 months, you can grasp that all as this the very important potential. We can reach a large portion of the population with economic ownership and allowing them to buy an excellent product at a very low cost. For example, potato. This is very important because during the summer we have a lot of potato in the market and we can transform it in a little part and cook, and as during the year very wonderful soup or sauce with potato. The meeting with the FEBA to celebrate the International Year of Fruit and Vegetables allowed us to verify that this project is the first example not only in Italy but in Europe. all this function of law, our partner, our projects must be integrated with that guaranteed everyone access to healthy nutrition food by supporting the production that respects nature. This is very important. But being sustainable means constantly investing, as we have been doing for years, in processes both inside and outside our facilities, from processing laboratories already mentioned in the co-processing spaces with some our markets have already developed. And without forgetting investments in the waste cycle, renewable energy with photovoltaic park. Our photovoltaic park is very important for us. Respect for the use of water. This is another item, very important. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Packaging that all 28 markets belonging to our networks have already made our planning for coming year. Waste normally went from 27% to 40% destined for compost. To contribute for the action of the United Nations and the wholesale market intends, as they did to the WOM with FAO and the European Union, to make their expertise and professionalism available to help design a modern and competitive business model to increase the performance of agri-food system based into the future and respect for territory and communities. Fundamental requirements for a more sustainable system, food system. This is very important because you live in a little space near the big town, and you have to respect the community that live in your territory. Italy has an ancient tradition of trade exchange in which the wholesale market have always been an important point of reference. Even today, in this difficult moment, now we start again a very difficult moment in Italy, then have shown that they can be a model for whole world. Well, there are 7 ambitions, objectives that code covering in their pillars of sustainable environment, social, economics, healthy, balanced and sustainable diets for a European consumer, prevention, a reduction of food losses and waste, a climate neutral food chain in Europe by 2050, and optimized a resource efficient circular food chain. Sustained inclusive and sustainable economic growth with the jobs and decent work for us, and sustainable value creating in Europe for food supply chain through a partnership. We can reach them, and we won't say let's take action. I'm sorry for my English, and if I am too long, but thank you to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity.
No, thank you very much for your intervention and for bringing the perspective and the experience of the wholesale markets in Italy. I think that this was your intervention was an added value to the discussion that we had in this panel with the food bank representatives. So thank you very much for joining our annual forum. And I would like to thank all the speakers for sharing with us these concrete examples, so showing that there is already actions in place in the different countries. So thank you for what you are doing on the ground every day. And we hope that this annual forum was the opportunity for you also to listen to different experiences, and also to have some inspirations also in terms of legislation and what is possible, and also the nutritional value of fruits and vegetables. So we hope that you enjoyed the conversation and the dialogue that we had this morning. And now we would like to, we are moving to the end of this annual forum. So it's really a pleasure for me to welcome Eugenia Carrara, who is the Secretary General of the World Union of Wholesale Markets, and also Jacques van der Schrik, who is the President of the European Food Banks Federation. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Eugenia. I know that you are connecting from Mexico, so you had to wake up very early to join our annual forum. So we are really grateful for your participation today. And well, I will give you the floor for the closing remarks. So Eugenia, if you want to share your perspective from the World Union of Wholesale Markets, and then we will conclude with our president. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Yes, in a matter of fact, it's now 4 p.m., 4:47 a.m. here. So I start at 3 a.m., but it's a really big pleasure. I'm glad to be addressing to you this message today during this joint webinar organized also with Italmercati, that is one of our members. And I want to address Fabio Massimo Pallottini, that unfortunately I think he's having an interview with RAI in this moment, but he's the chairman of Italmercati, but also the director of the World Union of Wholesale Markets. Congratulations for this important initiative. It's really nice for us to see that our organizations are joining forces at regional level to fight together food waste. And as you probably may know, we have just signed an MOU, so a memorandum of understanding, with the Global Food Bank. So this event is, again, for us, a proof that we have in all the regions of the world the same commitment and engagement to work together hand in hand in concrete actions and projects to transition our food system into sustainability. What means, as many other participants said, achieving also zero food waste. Today, globally, around 1.3 billion tons of food produced for human consumption are wasted every year. This is completely unacceptable to I think that is more than ever is now time to discuss all these concrete pathways that we have at local level to foster the recovery and redistribution of fruits and vegetables, and the pain points that can be associated with them, as it was before discussed by different national European food banks, and also by Flavio Pezzoli from, as you know, fruits and vegetables are among the most wasted products, as they are perishable. And we do believe at WOM that wholesale a lot of our wholesale markets are already doing an excellent work with the European Food Bank Federation and also other networks on this topic. But I am sure that we can still team up together to go even further in the countries that are having some pain points and reach the countries where we don't have actions yet together. It was said before that an average of 5% of food waste happens in wholesale markets. Today, we have conclusive data to show that this number can significantly change among markets and among the development of initiatives they develop. For instance, in the most modern markets with already systems of food recovery, waste can be today as small as 0.4% and sometimes achieving 0.2%. This is the case, for instance, in Ranchis market or in Mercabarna. In other European wholesale markets, for instance, this average will rise much more and unfortunately would reach up to 12%, so we can really see the difference. And I think that all these shared best practice that were introduced today shows how we can easily actually lower this percentage. The concrete case that was presented by Italy, frutta che frutta non si spreca, fruit that will not be wasted, and the different examples also from Greece or Spain. And I wanted to introduce another example that was also raising some articulation, logistical, but also organization in between wholesalers, wholesale markets, and associations. That is the one of like ranchis that show how can we already develop and scale up some initiatives. So in ranchis also, like last year is the biggest wholesale market in the world. So last year more than 12,000 tons of products were distributed. This is equivalent to 2.4 million meals. And what is the way they work? They have an association within the wholesale market called Le Potager de Marianne, and this association is in charge of all the relationship with wholesalers. So they have a network of wholesalers, and they are going every day to the wholesalers to put just in one place all the food that has not been sold and is still eatable, and then they make the in-between with all the associations, so they can in an easy way redistribute among all the other associations the amount of quantities, because of course for the wholesalers they don't have time to have 10 associations at different moments. One can take 1 kilo, the other one 50 kilos. So this is also something that we have to think about, and I'm sure that in the future we can collaborate more in these kind of projects. In any case, I think that most of the initiatives that were shown show that we have today clear game-changing solutions that are not that complicated, and that have shown that we can drastically reduce food waste and achieve sustainable development goals. That is one of the major aims in what concerns food, is to reduce by half the food waste before 2030. I hope in this regard that the European Commission, they said it, but I hope that they will also open this for wholesale markets, because for a lot of applications were still not eligible. I hope the European Commission will facilitate access to investment to European wholesale markets and food banks and partners located in countries that cannot afford to pay these kind of projects today, that were like the Italmercati one, or like the network of Mercasa one. As was saying before, like some countries in Europe are today reaching wholesale markets are reaching 12% of food waste. So I think that it's possible to achieve zero waste, but for this we need to have funds to do it, and afterwards we can for sure have better logistics, maybe have a fixed person working with an income from like one of the networks that you were saying, and also have like an possible infrastructure. It can be a transformation infrastructure to make, as Italmercati is doing, hams or purees or other things in order to expand the life of perishables. In any case, at WOM, we are looking really forward to strengthen collaboration, of course, with the European Federation of Food Banks, with the European Commission, and with the FAO, in order to share all these best practices that our markets are putting into place to enhance circular economy perspective and adapt them to other countries to scale them up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Eugenia. And thank you again for joining us from Mexico, and for the effort to wake up so early to be able to follow the annual forum. So this is really a commitment. So thank you again. And now I will give the floor to our president, Jacques van der Streek, for the final remarks.
I hope you can all hear me. Well, first of all, I would like to thank FEBA staff and Secretary General for organizing this event. I think it was most interesting event in as much as we had two different type of panel, the one being more on the sort of policies and institutional aspect, and the second being more on the practical aspect. I think Rosa Roller gave us a nice introduction to the issue of the importance of fruit and vegetables in the world, what the problems are, the sustainability problems, the environmental problems, the economic and social implications, and what is actually needed, or a methodology that is needed to achieve the SDG 2, 3, and 12. Anne-Laure Gassin gave us a good rundown on the what the Green Deal considers as far as the sustainable, or the advent of a sustainable food system is, and pointed out different initiatives taken by the European Union to actually achieve the target, which is the reduction of the food waste by 50% and by 2030. And I sincerely wish that this objective can be actually implemented also at food bank level. An important point that was made is that when comparing the waste, the food waste, according to the type of food that is concerned, fruit and vegetables are actually the champions, if one can use that word, by exceeding 40% of food waste, which is a scandal, which is something that we cannot leave as such. The existence and the renewal of the food loss and waste platform at EU level is certainly an encouraging sign of the seriousness with which the reduction of food loss and waste is in the agenda of the Commission. Then came Karen van der Putte from the DG Employment, and I think she opened up an interesting opportunity for food banks to actually embark into collecting data, applying a methodology, and trying to define the unit costs for the recovery of 1 kilo of donated food. I think food banks in most countries are operated by volunteers, and I think one of the hurdle that they have to overcome is that most of them are not financed by the state and have to find their own financial resources. I think if we could sponsor or support the food recovery and the fight against food waste with a substantial contribution from the ESF Plus, I think this could, combined with the right initiatives at local level and at national level, this could actually be a fantastic boost for the fighting against food loss and waste. Cecilia Bartolucci reminded us of the impact of fruit and vegetables on the first 1,000 days of life. And this is a great reminder to food banks on the importance of the quality and the adequacy of food delivery. We cannot only distribute food, we must also be very attentive to the quality and the adequacy to the population that we serve. The second panel, I had a double pleasure. The first one is to
to meet again my good friends Dimitris, Paola, Pedro, Domenico, and also to meet Dr. Flavio Pezzoli. It was interesting. The second pleasure was obviously to listen to what they have achieved or certain aspects that they believe important to communicate to the food bank community. And Dr. Pezzoli actually insisted on the macroeconomics of a food system, which I think is part of the picture that we need to address. And then came my colleague in the closing statements. I will just say you signed an agreement with the Global Food Banking Network. That's a great thing, but global doesn't mean global. Food banks in Europe are a separate entity, and I would welcome the opportunity to sign a similar agreement with you. This concludes my closing remarks. I would like again to thank you all and to wish you a very happy end of the year and a fantastic 2022. Thank you very much.